Oh, we're live. Anyway, hi Thomas. Welcome to Venture with Grace.
Hello, Grace. Thanks for the invite.
Okay, so to start the show, I would love for the audience to kind of know you a little bit more. I think like some of the really interesting thing about your resume is like, you have worked at Xiaomi, which is like to me it's like very interesting. And then you work at BCG, you work at like, so like now you're like the MD of Samsung Venture America. So maybe we could start with like, what were some core lessons that you've learned early on in your career that you kind of took to run Samsung Ventures?
Sure. So, first of all, again, Grace, thanks for the invite. We are getting into the holiday. I think it's a very good way to start the holiday, and I'm delighted to be here. And I'm Thomas Jueng, Senior Managing Director at Samsung Ventures America, and where I've been leading investment in transformative technology since 2012. So, Grace, you just asked, my past, and yes, I work for Xiaomi and did my two own startups and also work for consulting private equity and SK Telecom, the largest carrier in Korea for global strategy planning and investment. So to answer your question, probably it was my senior year in my college that I went to double E. I did my double E and bachelor's degree in Seoul National University, and there were so-called genius students in my class. So as far as I remember, 6 out of top 10 as SAP equivalent in Korea uh, were top 10 out of 6 out of top 10, were in Seoul National W at the time. And, with them, I was, craving my scores. And, one day, the final exam day of the solid state physics, which is the base for the semiconductor, I did my best. I put, I believe, 7, 8 hours day before that exam, and I got A+. But the other friends who called the genius, they also got A+. They only put 2 hours. So with that, I came up with this question of efficiency. So that's the kind of tipping moment for me that wait, okay, so if I pursue the engineering work as my career, then I might be more like a mediocre player rather than an outstanding one. So then what should I do to be more efficient in my career driving? And that's the time to think about, okay, so with the engineering background, and then what do I do? Well, what do I like to do? I like to work with the other people. I like, the entrepreneurship. So that's why I started my startup in China at the time. And, with that, that kind of coincidence and also some of the intention based on my, reflection in my college time drove me to think about investment role. And yes, like you mentioned, I was working for private equity and consulting, and combined, I found that probably the triangulation led me to the job of venture capital. So voila, after the 10 years work in SK Telecom and other companies by myself, and helping Xiaomi to launch their global messenger app, I finally joined Samsung Ventures America in 2012, and it's been 13 years here.
Totally. I love what you said about like efficiency. I feel like picking your own things that you have like unfair advantage is like definitely really important. I wonder maybe we could start with like since like, you colleague were on here before that about like, we chat about like Samsung Ventures before, but for the audience who may not be familiar with, maybe we could give
Mhm.
like a quick overview of like Samsung's investing strategy in America, and then we could dive into the core, AI related topics.
Yes, yes. So as you can read from the name, Samsung Ventures is a corporate venture capital arm of Samsung Group. We have 16 LPs from Samsung affiliates and outside LPs. So together we are about $3 billion in fund. We've been doing this from
Mhm.
1999. So we are one of the elder brother in this, venture capital
Mhm,
CVC activities. And we are investing
mhm,
about 100 million per year in the US, and which compose in general, in average, about 20 new deals. So sweet spot is 4 to 7 mil. Technically, it's stage agnostic, going down to a million, going up to $40 million check. And myself, senior managing director of the team, taking care of investment for platform for smartphone, smart TV, IoT, enterprise
mhm.
solution. And that's why, if anybody heard about AI, that's my world these days.
Totally. You mentioned about like, so you guys invest in 20 deals per year roughly. And I wonder, how do you think about like, the um investing strategy slash like I guess like portfolio construction? Would it be like 20, you mentioned like there's some early, some later. How do you like think about the evaluation process of what
Mhm,
makes it? And
mhm,
then how much of it would be like towards like benefiting the existing product line of Samsung versus
mhm.
like just like pure financial gain?
Sure. So, talking about our portfolio composition first in terms of the stage, looking at the portfolio, about 50% is in
Mhm,
Series A and B, and about 10% in Series Seed, and rest of
mhm,
it, about 40%, spread it over Series C, D, E, like later stage, right?
mhm,
So, just thinking about the reason why we have more focus on A and B, it's like, it's about a time that startups are ready to work with a big corporation like Samsung, right?
mhm,
And they are early but still good enough to have collaboration and build a
mhm,
case with a big corporation like Samsung.
mhm,
And that's kind of the rationale that I'm seeing in terms of the composition that we have in Series A and B in portfolio. And getting back to your question, how the what's the kind of thesis behind how and why we invest in those companies?
mhm,
So basically, uh, traditional CVC model is combining business collaboration between the mothership and the startups aligned with the investment. And I don't deny that that's not the part of our investment, but
mhm,
also, just looking at our history of portfolios, most of the successful portfolio investment,
mhm,
successful meant by in terms of the collaboration and also financial. It's about the company that has kind of the strong moat in the market
mhm,
and lead that market. And that being said, companies in the good shape in their A and B stage and leading that category and ready to work with the big corporation. Those are the component that I'm looking at in terms of the evaluating process of the company.
totally. I think that makes a lot of sense. But what about like, for example, the 10% like opportunistic slash seed stage investment? How do you think about strategies on that?
So I see more and more companies in the seed stage that might fall into the bucket of my investment thesis these days. Probably it's aligned with the rise of AI, because
Mhm,
with the AI, the in a conventional way, stage A and B, coming down to even like series seed type of the stage company in terms of the readiness in product commercialization and technology development, right?
mhm,
So when I looked at the seed companies, let's say 5 years ago, it's really hard to find the product market fit, and also even considering the readiness to work with Samsung like big corporation. Most of companies are not ready, but as long as that entrepreneurs, founders
mhm,
showed of great potential and assessing the right market, and that align with the kind of midterm goal, midterm path that
mhm,
Samsung is seeing, then we make a bet in that early stage. But like I said, getting into the rise of the AI, we see a lot more cases, even seed stage company, in terms of the product market fit, go to market strategies. It's kind of, much earlier, but ready to go in terms of the collaboration with the big corporation. And
Mhm.
so I'm kind of, foreseeing that the proportion of the seed investment in Samsung Ventures could
Mhm.
increase in the coming years.
Totally. Maybe we could give the audience a little bit of an example of, let's say, what would be a company that's obviously that's already like announced or anything like that's like public. What would be like a collaboration that you guys have done with a tech company that you feel like would be like representative for the process of collaboration?
So most of the investment that we did in terms of
Mhm.
the strategic investment part,
Mhm.
still some part is kind of confidential. It's
Mhm.
hard to mention it, but maybe I may not disclose the company name, but
Mhm.
can come up with the case, right?
Mhm.
So there's a company that I met about 3 years ago in
Mhm.
their really, really early stage. They
Mhm.
are assessing ASR. It's like speech to text technology,
Mhm.
and that's when the even before the ChatGPT came out, right? Probably ChatGPT is under cooking. And
Mhm.
then I saw great potential in terms of the voice interface, right? And what are you thinking about Samsung smartphone or our life itself? We always sticking to the usage of smartphone to
Mhm.
every single thing in our lives. And
Mhm.
with that, if we can bring in the more comprehensive and also very accurate voice recognition NLP
Mhm.
solution as a platform, then that can bring in the innovation in terms of the user interface. And that's why I was looking for the companies can bring in that innovation. And this company is showing much better accuracy, even more than better than nowadays ChatGPT and Google and AWS's
Mhm.
ASR solutions. And with that, it took a bit of time to make an evaluation, our tech team in our mothership, and build up the case and make some commercial contract. But it happened, and thanks to that, I myself could validate their technical superiority and also the viability of their business and make an investment in their pre-seed. And actually, I led their follow round and their seed round, and also invited three other investors together and make an investment there. So with that, now I see expansion of the business, knocking the wood in 2025 with their more advanced version of ASR and also text to speech model. And with that, that could be a great use case of the invested company solution in our Samsung mothership going forward, I guess.
Mm, totally. So in terms of evaluating the accuracy, so I guess this maybe and like is into the nitty gritty. This is like such a random question, but like, how do you evaluate the accuracy? So since like, I mean, since like, let's say you and I have a conversation, let's say we use a note taker, and like sometimes we can't really remember everything we say. So how do you know if this is like actually accurate, or like
Well,
is that just like checking a certain keywords?
there is the benchmark to evaluate that.
Mhm.
And also, that you can run that
Mhm.
accuracy benchmarking
Mhm.
among those available solutions and tell which one is outstanding in terms of the accuracy.
Mhm.
And that throughout that test, we figure out this solution is kind of outperforming to the other, state of art solution
Mhm.
available in the market.
Totally. Okay, so let's dive into AI. You can't really talk like you can't really have a podcast without AI in 2024, almost 2025.
Yes.
So so maybe we could jump into the new database for AI.
Mhm.
So maybe we could start with like the current ecosystem of players. Whenever we think about database, there's like, the Snowflake and Databricks of the world. And nowadays there's like Pinecone and everybody who's like really keen on RAG. And maybe
Mhm.
we could talk about like the development of database and what are some new innovations or like challenges that they're trying to solve these days.
Sure. So I was thinking about, what could be the next of the AI infrastructure, innovation,
Mhm.
and very timely, I have a fascinating discussion with my former professor in Seoul National University, Sang-Kyun Cha. He was a founder of SAP HANA. It's a
Mm,
NoSQL in-memory database. It's kind of, prevalent database in a previous era and even now, right?
mhm,
And, you know, uh, the topic was about definitely the future of database in the AI era, correlated with the rise of, back in the time, NoSQL database, right? And we
mhm,
were talking about, okay, so similar with the situation in NoSQL time, we are living in the era when everybody is creating like unprecedented amount of multimodal data, right?
mhm,
Unstructured data. And then turning this flood of data into like contextual, personalized AI experiences. What do we need, right? So the database, which is incorporating those data ready for the training and inference, is kind of the must. But the current database that we are dealing with is like a feature from the previous era or the
mhm,
variation of the previous era, so that you just talk about like the vector DB, right? So doing some reality check around vector DB. This is totally my personal opinion, so no
mhm,
offense, but you know many players like MongoDB, Databricks, Snowflake are rapidly integrating vector DB capabilities, right?
mhm,
So it's I don't know. Big players already incorporating that type of the solutions as a feature, so
mhm,
that not sure whether there could be a bright future in
mhm,
the vector DB side or even like graph DB side. Maybe something kind of hybrid,
mhm,
combining RDB and vector DB and graph DB features
mhm,
all together, which is also the direction of the market these days.
mhm,
And then maybe they should think about more innovative, operating system, harmonizing the different features all together, right? And then, another perspective that, we talk about with the Professor Cha was like, what would be the keywords that we need to think about in terms of that infrastructure side? So it also based on the needs and demand from the developers.
mhm,
So serverless scalability, so auto scaling without operational overhead type of thing, right? And
mhm,
then intelligent automation, meaning like
mhm,
self-optimizing systems for complex AI workplaces. This is very important for the agentic world. So allowing the
mhm,
super agent and make an kind of the order for the sub agent to create their own database and serve their request from the customer or their client, things like that, right?
mhm,
And then definitely context aware processing, like converting raw data into the meaningful insight. So to do so, database plays a very critical role, because ETL type of the solution will convert the unstructured data to the structured data. Not sure about the accuracy yet, but I believe with the more training and more data influx, that accuracy will eventually go up to be sufficient to serve as a training data, and then that will provide a lot better context awareness in terms of the data influx. And this is another thing that I hear a lot from the developers, which is cost efficiency, right? So, every millisecond and, megabyte counts from the developers and startup side to run their AI, right? And how this new database can incorporate the data and process that data cost effectively, of cost efficiently. That's another critical, consideration from the startup side.
wow. I want to double click on like the things that you mentioned about like allowing the super agent to, I guess, manage the data. Sorry, like I
Yeah,
don't know if
yes.
I'm
So
yeah.
super agent sitting on top as a layer, and
Mhm,
then thinking about that, you want to go somewhere, but
mhm,
you have a vague idea, and you
mhm,
can think about maybe April time, but don't
mhm,
have a specific visibility around your schedule,
mhm,
right? that you just ask your super agent, let's say Grace is the name of that super agent.
Mhm.
Grace, I want to go somewhere as my vacation around the time in April.
Mm.
Find the best place and more aligned with my schedule type of thing. And then super agent is creating the sub agents, to search up your schedulers and maybe some of the traveling agency websites and your preference record from Marriott, Hyatt, IHG, things like that,
Mhm.
right? And all
Oh my god, sorry. Is
what is
everyone
this?
I'm sorry, I think this is the fire alarm of my place. What is going on? I'm so sorry. This will pass. Please keep going. I think I'll
Okay.
mute myself.
Yes, yes. So with that, this new database fit for that agentic world, will allow the super agent create the sub data set, like database for each sub agent, and automatically without having any latency. And that will involve in the capability of serverless, right? It's by doing so it can scale up very easily. And also probably some of the openness, right? Open source base so that many people can customize based on their requirement. And also the super agent can control it without any licensing fee involved, things like that. Right. So with that, the data will be, deployed or spread it out to that sub data set or database, and then sub agents will run the data to come up with the deliverables for the super agent, and then voila, that super agent Grace will deliver the final result to Thomas to talk about where is the best place that he or she can think about in terms of that time frame in his or her schedule, fit to her schedule, and then even available to book it right away.
Totally. Sorry. This still didn't go over. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's happening. It
No,
hit
I think this will make a scene. So probably this is a sign that we will make a big hit today.
exactly. Totally. Okay, so maybe we could start with compound AI since I
Mhm.
feel like compound AI. I don't know. Can you hear this mega sound?
Very
I'm so
loud and
sorry.
clear.
Okay, let me just shut myself down. Let me just mute myself and then maybe we could talk about compound AI. You could start
Yes.
with yeah,
Yeah.
the topic.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, no, it's totally fine. Now it's my one-man show. So compound AI is the terminology that I'm probably not only me, but also many people and in the market, hearing more and more. So basically, compound AI refer to the system and solution that integrate multi AI models and techniques and to address like complex problems more effectively than single AI models can. And for example, looking at the OpenAI's O3 mini demo that they did a few days ago, there's a glimpse of the kind of future of automation, which include the concept of compound AI. So, when during the session, they show the program with the prompt into a UI as created through a prompt, right? And then a problem to be solved and the approach to solve it are input into the new UI in the prompt, right? And then there is a feed the content back to itself, generating the necessary code to solve that problem, and then excuses program executes the code and shares the result right away. So basically, even from the prompting side, they coming up with the proper prompt that they can work better as in programming. And then that program kind of self-evolved with that. So basically, it's like critics help to make that, the first iteration get much better in the later stage, things like that. So that's related to process of reasoning too, and just kind of going through it first and revisiting the kind of the intermediate, and then kind of incorporating the result and deliverables in the interim, and then reinforce what they can come up with and then deliver the result. So to do that, definitely it's not just and one model is required, and going
Mhm.
forward thinking about the multimodal AI capabilities in the different AI models and companies, that will enhance the capability of the overall AI, model and the solution, or let me say it's more like a product. So that product itself, and then that tightly connected to the market's current move toward the agent world, so that that agent can help you to understand better and deliver the best out of the best result for you, ready for you, right? So
Mhm.
that's why I think the compound AI, not only the frequency that I hear in the market, increase the frequency of the market, but also, just thinking about where that agentic, market can head on, and what's going to be the deliverables from that type of the movement, the compound AI, would be the one key thing that, I see current in the current market.
Mm. So maybe we could chat about like, some I guess like some companies in the space. So for example, let's say Alpha Geometry or, Alpha Code 2. So like maybe what are some like, um system that are kind of like on top of the game in the industry, and is there any specific company that you're seeing that you find really interesting? By the way, wanted to say hi to the audience. Hi, Violet Love. I feel like I saw your comments in like both LinkedIn and YouTube. Hi. Wanted to say hi to you. But anyway.
Okay, so there are a few companies, of course, many big players like OpenAI, Google, AWS, Anthropic are already adapting some part of the
Mhm,
compound AI there, right? But
mhm,
in terms of the startups, I'm not saying that I'm targeting any of that, just for disclosure. But companies like Federalist AI, Fireworks AI, and Substrates type of
mm,
the companies are providing either toolkits or developers platform to allow them to come up with the toolkits solutions to incorporate the capability of compound AI, right?
mhm,
So that itself will enable the application layer, players in the application layer, to how to incorporate the compound AI in their solution, and by doing so provide a better result. So think about, if we know that there are different characteristics of the each AI model. So Anthropic can do some, Cloud of Anthropic can do something better than ChatGPT from OpenAI. OpenAI ChatGPT can do something better than the other, the AI models, right, or AI products, right,
mm,
and things like that. And then if you can combine those together, and for the sake of the user, if you can provide better outcome compared to one of each, right, just focusing on one solution only,
mm.
then that's the way to go. And I believe that's the kind of the biggest benefit that I can see from the compound AI in the very near future.
Mm, totally. I wonder, so when you're thinking about companies in the space. So you mentioned about like all the big tech company, including some like unicorn companies that like, I mean, almost unicorn companies like Firework AI. They are kind of like doing basically powering all the applications that are built on top of the platforms.
Yeah.
Um, I wonder, like, how are you thinking about, like, where does the money flow? So, like, should people be keep building these, like, major platforms where people could leveraging multi different AI models in one place? Or, like, what are some opportunities in the space that, after people started, you know, um leveraging different AI models to work together. Um, like I guess like should people investing in the real world application side of things, or should people keep investing in, let's say, the adjacent space? So for example, maybe like different sector that where people could let's say for example like if you're doing multimodal for sales or for marketing, like maybe subsectors are like where the money is going to flow. I wonder, how do you think about like, um where we'll have the next unicorn startup in the space?
Also, this is kind of the topic that I'm thinking very
Mhm,
hard these days,
mhm,
since it is the end of the
mhm,
year and going to the next year, right?
mhm,
So, and from my perspective, I think still it's the time, that the infrastructure,
mhm,
prevails. And
mhm,
infrastructure meant by probably not the foundation model, but
mhm,
more on the other infrastructure to support that foundation
mhm,
model, and in going forward the application running on top of the foundation model, do well. Meant by, we already talked about database, right? So to serve that, foundation model, process the data better, right? That's the kind of the way of, the reason, or the reason why I kind of came up with the database, like new database for AI, better data set to ready for serving the AI, things like that. And with that, you know, uh, align with the concept of compound AI. So I believe the best use case by far of the AI is ChatGPT, no question, right? So then the opportunity would be, how could you compete against them? For example, of Perplexity, it came up with a different delivery of the, similar result, right? And
mhm,
but assessing the kind of specific needs of which is answering the question, right? So search type of
mhm,
the demand from the customer.
mhm,
So that's more like a go-to-market strategy. You find the right product market fit, right?
mhm,
And then, similar analogy can be applied to the upcoming solutions in the application layer. How you can compete against ChatGPT, how you can differentiate, but still assessing the unmet needs in the market, compared to the ChatGPT type of thing, right?
mhm,
So that's how I see the world of application, AI application. And actually I see some of the interesting, ideas and activities from the startup world, and I keep chasing them.
mm. Totally. I feel like you mentioned, like, there have to be a unique angle, like perplexity to ChatGPT. So you have to have like a unique angle to power the application or like
Mhm,
target like a specific audience need.
mhm,
And maybe we could dive into like, speaking of specific customers' needs, maybe we could talk about like how will AI be applied into hardware or like new devices for AI.
mhm.
So obviously, at the beginning of this year, this CS is about to coming up again, but like last year it was like the rabbit little it's kind of like a pain.
Humane.
Yeah, and then there's a human AI pain.
Yeah.
And like I wonder, how do you think about like the evolvement of hardware while like, the basically hardware that's like powered by AI that's like gonna shift in the
Yeah.
next coming year.
So there could be two different angles in that perspective. So it could be the device for AI,
Mhm,
or device by AI.
mhm,
It could be different, and this at the same time. It could be it could mean
mhm,
same, but you know I think this is the area that I can pretty uniquely assess based on my experience in Samsung Venture, Xiaomi, and SK Telecom. So getting back to our current world, so which is the smartphone revolution, right? So has been defining our current life of 21st century, right?
mhm,
So everything happening as a computer on your hand, on your mobile phone. But
mhm,
just like Grace mentioned, it's been, you remember when the first iPhone came out? It's 2006, 7, right? It's
mhm,
been surprisingly 18, 19 years, right?
mhm,
So it's actually over the life cycle or the
mhm,
innovation cycle and the hardware perspective. And
mhm,
that's why many, thought leaders in the market, like Sam Altman and Johnny Ive, those type of the people talking about, it's a time that we need a new devices properly serving the AI. And that perspective, we saw some of the rise, of early rise of the trials like
Mhm.
humane, rabbit, and a few others. But as we saw, nothing happened, right? So because yeah, I'm not kind of being disrespectful for their trial.
Mhm.
That's very good, right? To have that type of the trials. It's inevitable, unnecessary, necessary process to get into the next level. But if you just compromise in terms of the quality, and on top of it, in terms of the usability, so it's not started from the needs, critical needs from the user. Rather, it's more like so what we can do with AI type of the starting
Mhm.
point. So being said, if you push that type of the product to the customer, especially it's facing the customer and customer, then pretty high chance that you cannot make it, right? And I think that's the kind of situation that we are seeing in the market for those examples.
Mhm.
And personally, I think the first step or first stage of the AI devices will be the device to help AI, meaning supplement more data for the context awareness of the AI. So, for example, very affordable. So price is very important too, right? So I
Mhm.
think like lower than $70 type of the
Mhm.
AI necklace type of the device
Mhm.
could come first, right?
Mhm.
That's more like a accessory that we can wear
Mhm.
and then connect it to our mobile phone as a main
Mhm.
computing power, as a collector, and also input and output device itself, right? So still the smartphone would be the center of our AI work. But that's AI network, AI necklace or AI pin can be another channel to digest all the kind of surrounding information that is happening around you, and that provide the much better context. What happened to you? What are you talking about? And what do you think about? And coming up with a better result from your personal AI, right? And then, probably the second stage, I guess around 4 to 5 years later, coming up with, a little bit of combination of brain computing interface and still smartphone as a display too, so that let's say it's more like advanced earbuds type of thing, and you
Mhm.
can wear it and it hears you what happened in surrounding you, and also it can talk to you, right? So it's about a time that the voice interface that I mentioned earlier coming into the main role of the interface between the machine and
Mhm.
human being, like machine by AI, let's say. And with that, the local edge processing will be more important. Of course, battery
Mhm.
consumption will be very important, so that main processing power would be still provided by the smartphone, and also display, which consume a lot more power, still happening on your phone. But your earphone now or earbuds per se is available to talk to you, and it becomes a kind of medium of the interface and computing too, right?
Mhm.
And probably in the later stage of that movement, uh, you remember that I mentioned about brain computing interface, right? So it's not about attaching a big helmet on your head, but just
Mhm.
maybe 2 3 electrode out of your earbuds can detect the signal from your brain toward your mouse muscle
Mhm.
around your mouse, and detect it and kind of translate it to the language, meaning when you think about grace in your brain, and then very subtle electric signal coming down to your muscle on your chin to make to pronounce, right? And then that can translate it by the AI with the noise canceling and the pattern recognition. It
Mhm.
can tell, okay, Thomas is thinking about to talk about grace, so grace is coming into the input of your earbuds or something like that. right?
Mm,
So that type of the early trial, early implementation of the BCI will be a part of that. And then finally, maybe like 7 years later, we will get into that, full new AI devices. I think
mhm,
more like glasses type of thing, right? And
mhm,
with the whole the rings and bells all together, like computer vision. By doing so, we finally don't need to have a smartphone as a display tool. Rather it does have its own waveguide, radio source or display cell to coming up as a big screen right in front of your eye, right? And then it recognize the object right away and give you the right context and object recognition type of thing. And it combined with the previous versions of the earbuds and probably the necklace all together. So it
mhm,
can hear you, it can talk to you, it can understand you better than anybody, and it can show you something too. So that's kind of the how the roadmap, kind of overall roadmap that I'm thinking about. Probably that's gonna be the process or procedure to getting into the real destination of the AI devices. And to do so, many things should happen. So it's
mhm,
not this device comes first. Rather,
mhm,
there are many components, just like that. Smartphone. How the smartphone formed. You know, Steve Jobs himself, in the stage of the first iPhone announcement, he
mhm,
particularly mentioned the innovation of the battery. Without the innovation of the battery, like make that small battery stays almost one a day of the running operation. He couldn't come up with the iPhone. Same, much
mhm,
smaller form factor, and how you can put all the components together, align with the battery, and that consists or that stays there as a power. That's a big challenge. It's not only the design challenge but also fundamental physics challenge too. And
mhm,
when Samsung affiliates are working on those type of the deep tech innovation, and I believe we are getting there. And there are several outstanding startups working on that type of the innovation too. And hopefully we could see some of the breakthroughs in that technology and making us to available to have another breakthrough in terms of the devices too.
totally. I like what you said about like the three revolution of like the necklace, the earbag, and the glasses. I wonder why is the glasses the hardest? Assuming it's because of its vision, and then there's voice, and then there's like a lot of other stuff. But I wonder, like, let's say for the necklace or for the earbuds, couldn't the current device already do it? Just because, I feel like I don't know what's like the compared to like AI native devices hardware versus like a traditional hardware that like I feel like nowadays like you could like argue like Alexa from Amazon is AI. How do you think about like what is an AI native device and what's a core difference between that versus Alexa or Siri?
So that's a very good question. I'm thinking about that too. But
Mhm,
fundamentally, it's about users' perception and also behavior change.
mhm,
So by having that type of AI specific device itself right next to you,
mhm,
so it's not like getting into the process to of consent that your phone always listening to you or your Alexa always able to listen to you. Rather, you don't want to do that, right?
mhm,
But since this product itself is designed and sold to you under the name of
mhm,
AI, and it does have that specific, use case that it's listen to you, and it doesn't talk to you, but it just listen to you and getting the information from that listening as an influx input data to your AI, and your privacy is protected, blah blah blah. And for those people who purchase it and to
mhm,
wear already, that's the right segment to test that type of the user behavior change, and they are ready to adapt that new change, right? And by doing so, the AI can, let's say Samsung, Apple type of the OEM can incorporate those new data set and think about how they can provide more personalized, more customized services or agent for them, right? And if the other people see the advantage to have that type of devices, maybe it's better to be designed very cool so that even as a fashion item, it's kind of admirable to purchase too. And then with the advanced AI features together combined, people want to buy more and more, and that's how smartphone got popular and dominated the market too. It took, I think, more than 7 years, 8 years to get more than 50% of the market share in the phone market, right? Then just like that, or we may need the time latency of adoption inevitably. But
Mhm.
as long as the product has the product market fit and assess the right segment, and that
Mhm.
spread the word, and then that's the time that we can get into the next stage.
Mm. I also thought about maybe like there is I've been thinking about like what is a new like AI version of the social interaction experience just cuz like I feel like think about the necklace or the earbud like it's kind of like you just connect it to yourself but think about like the phone the major thing is like you can connect to other people there's like you could share a video share a message basically communicate with other people what would be the next generation of like consumer behavior when it comes to AI? Like, there's obviously like the other day I was chatting with a founder that they're doing the companion bot. But uh, on the other hand, I feel like, will there be like since we just talked about the new AI devices, what would it look like for, the future of people interact with each other? Would it be like, the meta spatial glasses or basically essentially you can see the outside world but you can also watch a movie at the same time. I don't know, like, so how do you think about from a hardware perspective, is there something that you've seen in the market that's like truly exceptional, and how do people kind of interact with each
So
other?
I have 9 years old son, and
Mhm,
also I have few other friends that's kind of younger, babies or kids,
mhm,
you know, lower than his age, and looking at them like generation alpha and beta, they are so native to talk to the device, the
mhm,
voice interaction, right? Alexa, Siri, Bixby, everybody, right? So with that, I believe the definite change in terms of the interaction between human beings and machine will
mhm,
come down to the voice interface, right? So then with that, I personally will feel embarrassed to talk to my machine in public
mhm,
out loud, right? So being
mhm,
said, that's where the necessity of the brain computing interface coming in. You don't want to be listened to the other people. You can just think, or you can just kind of murmur in your mouth, and then that will deliver the message that you want to talk to your machine, and machine will process the order from you, right? So things like that. So that will not happen right away overnight, but based on the necessity of the market demand, key demand from the market, that technology will evolve and getting to the point.
mhm. Totally. What are things that since like I feel like you guys have must seen like a lot of like the really cool innovations in the market for hardware. Um, is there any particular things that you find really interesting? So for example, like you mentioned about like the necklace, um, you know, besides like wearing like a device that can track you. So for example, I know the Aura ring can track your stats for your body too, or like the watch. What are things that you feel like are um something that like let's say like the most of the audience have never seen?
Never seen.
Or is there like any companion robotic things? So for example, you literally live in with a robot or what's the vibe there?
So major companies are investing in humanoid, right? Human shaped like robot in that reason.
Mhm,
Not happen. I don't think it will happen within 10 years, but in terms of the general public adoption, but there are certain areas that might have some
Mhm,
early adoption of technology, right? So
mhm,
in terms of the cool, new, novel, kind of hardware, probably even though it's very well known percept, concept, the humanoid will be one. But getting into the device itself, like smartphone compatible, I don't think it will be a really different form factor from what we are seeing every day these days. Rather,
mhm,
it's more like the different purpose, or
mhm,
like different purpose driven, so that it contains a different solution in the form factor of that we are familiar with,
mhm,
but it delivered the specific the outcome fit to that purpose, right? So
mhm,
just like the necklace, so since it is
mhm,
necklace, inevitably should be suitable to wear, so there should be the consideration of fashion, right?
mhm,
And then the functionality wise, it's not too complicated, I believe, as a starter,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
But better it just keep listening and sustain its battery as long as possible. It does require to have connectivity to your phone, to
mhm,
deliver the message, to deliver the information
mhm,
collected. So with that, it shouldn't be a different form factor. Rather, I think the design and also the price point
mhm,
will be two major factors that
mhm,
may make the customer to make decision in their purchase, right? And
mhm,
then, and of course, how the phone associated with that necklace, or how the application running on the phone associated with that necklace or necklace type of the AI devices can can create difference, significant difference in terms of the AI performance.
mm. Totally. Maybe we could talk about so like since I feel like I want to um just like shift the question a little bit towards like your current portfolio. So like obviously you just mentioned that you invest in audio multimodal AI company, and then I saw on your portfolio you have invested in the next gen lidar, and then there is a quant algorithm platform and AR game. So like
Mhm.
why don't we talk about, what is your like so like how do you kind of encounter these companies, and maybe we could use like one or a few as examples since they're in very different industries. What are some interesting things that you're seeing, and then what's your thesis within these
Yeah.
different realms?
So it's related to the pattern of our work, right?
Mhm,
So, in the team base, we do the thesis work and
mhm,
pretty much every other month. And every other
mhm,
month, we meet many VCs, many companies, and
mhm,
also we, interact with, great type of the opinion leaders in the market too.
mhm,
And that helps us to digest those input data to
mhm,
think about what's next, what's the critical
mhm,
perspective that we have to incorporate in our investment. And we
mhm,
try to incorporate that perspective in our thesis. So, for example, of AI game, that was
mhm,
2016, 17
mhm,
when the AR VR concept arose,
mhm,
right? And with that, how you can incorporate that AR VR concept and the technology, the phone, the best use case was a game, so that we look through the gaming company associating that technology particularly and make an investment, right? And then, thinking about the voice interaction interface, right? So what's most important? Probably voice recognition related technology, and accuracy wise is very, very important. So which company has the best accuracy performance and things like that. So building up the thesis and coming up with the company list of the companies and meet them and then evaluate them and make an investment, right? Things like that. So those are, I think, most of the VCs are doing same, right? So building up what they see the market and think
mhm,
about the right angle in terms of the assessment, and
mhm,
then find out the right companies and
mhm,
do their analysis, compare competitive and landscape analysis and their comparison,
mhm,
and then pull the trigger, right? You make a bet on this company and pray for them every night.
Mm. In terms of like, I mean, I just thought it was like so fascinating. Like, what is the next gen lidar anyway?
So next gen lidar is like very small and very low power consumption. So well-known concept, which have a lot of kind of punch in the market in the previous years,
Mhm,
is the concept of solid state LiDAR, right?
mhm,
So that it does have the LiDAR capability in one chip, very cheap, but still performing very well. So every autonomous driving car will equip that chipset, and by doing so it doesn't require huge outset in your ceiling, in your roof, running and looking ugly and also very expensive. But you can set up those sliders surrounding your bumpers and also certain
mhm,
part of your dashboard. By doing so, you can help the data influx of the autonomous driving, things like that, right?
mhm,
So there were companies claiming that, and there are companies literally deliver what the solid state lidar can do. And also the company that I invested is more not only about solid state lidar but also beamforming itself in terms of their differentiation. So going forward, in the AI era, we talk about optical routing and more use of the laser in terms of the optical use cases, and from for that, you know also their technology can have some use cases in a critical way. So that's what I meant by the next generation lidar.
mm. How do you think about like, the sales process of them to, um like other company that needs lidar?
So basically, VCs are trying their best to introduce the right partners that the
Mhm,
company can work together, which I do too. And this specific company are, assessing the traditional LiDAR use cases, of course,
mhm,
which is like industrial use cases for safety,
mhm,
and also some of the combination of the use cases in the autonomous driving going forward, right?
mhm,
So those are there, but like I said, this their technology can be used in a different way too, and
mhm,
that's where
mhm,
the VC's input can create some differentiation. So kind of
mhm,
nudge the founders or CEOs think
mhm,
about the kind of detour but more advanced way of the use cases, and
mhm,
by making connecting the dot as a VC, help them to think about that way, and also to develop that case, find the right partner to talk to, and where we see the necessity or the requirement from
mhm.
the client side, and connect them together and coming up with the project together. That's
Mm,
kind of thing that we are helping with our portfolio company.
for sure. In terms of diligence, how do you kind of like evaluate the customer interest versus, if this company can keep evolving into a actual company from like one product?
No, to be honest, VCs are not working as an employee of the company, to be honest.
Mhm,
So being said, it's really hard to talk to something related to their day-to-day operation, right?
mhm,
But rather, like I said, more kind of bigger picture,
mhm,
or some of the major decisions based on the pattern recognition over the time,
mhm,
in our portfolio company. So something, some
mhm,
kind of bad signal or some good signal, right?
mhm,
And then what would be the next step that the company should think about, type of
mhm,
thing, right? That type of the guidance is more suitable role of the VC, rather than talking to the startup, which is literally doing their operation, day-to-day operation, and know much better
mhm.
than VCs about their own business and technology, and tell them to do this and do that in terms of their daily operation.
Mm. I totally agree, and I wanna maybe end with I wanna be mindful of the time, so I wanna end with, like, a quick one-minute fire round for you. What's your favorite book?
What's what? What's what?
Or what's your favorite book?
What's my favorite book? So my favorite so far, The Good to Great.
Mm,
Yeah, it's a very old book, but still it does include a lot of implications still in the current business. And also, uh, Think Again by Adam Grant. It's you
mm,
know it's a investor's role. We need to evolve our thought process too,
mhm,
right? So shouldn't just stick on one idea. Rather, you need to switch the gear, very agile, and thinking about something else, or even like variation of A to B too. So for that, Think Again is kind of the book talking about how you should have that type of the flexibility of the thinking, and what how that flexibility can be helpful in your thought process. Yeah. So being said, that those are two books that I can recommend. Maybe you, Grace, and also some of the audience that you who hasn't read them.
for sure. I love Good to Great, but I definitely want to read Think Again. Um, who made the biggest impact in your career?
It's a good question. My dad, as an entrepreneur, he had did his business in China
Mhm,
for 28 years. So himself gave me the opportunity to
mhm,
live in China and have that experience and the early
mhm,
rise of the Chinese IT boom. And
mhm,
also that entrepreneurship itself, is kind of inspiration of my life too.
mhm,
And I think that's the kind of one big person that I can think about as
mhm.
the person who gave me a big impact on my life.
Totally. I feel like I hear that like, I hear about your dad's experience over dinner. I was like, "Wow." Like, I've never met well, yeah, I personally have never met someone from, like, outside the US, like, would literally live, in China for, like, 10 like, 20 years. That's, like, a big commitment, and
Yeah.
like you mentioned, like, it also, accompanied by the, dot-com boom, and that's, like I think it's a really crazy time to, like, see the changes, have happened.
Mhm.
So who would you invite to your dinner party?
My dinner party, Grace Gong, and
Oh, thank
also
you. Coexist.
yeah, I have handful VC friends that I
Mhm,
hang out together and grab some Korean barbecue. I'm
mhm,
trying to be, friendly to the other VCs, and I think that's the one good way to, keep up with the market too.
mhm,
And that I'm holding some Korean barbecue night time to time.
mhm,
And my favorite Korean barbecue place in Bay Area is Cheongdam. So
mhm,
that's my
mhm.
go-to place to
Shout out.
hold my dinner.
Amazing. Where can we find you outside of work?
Um, I'm a big golfer, so in a golf range or the field,
Mhm,
and also I'm a big skier. So
mhm,
in the winter time in Tahoe mostly. Yeah.
mhm. Amazing. I feel like Tahoe this weekend would be very packed. Um, well, Thomas, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It was such a fun conversation, and I feel like I learned so much about different aspects of AI.
Hopefully it was interesting to you and also audience. And
Mhm.
I'm so grateful that you make an invite for that session and looking forward to our next conversation if possible.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Let me
Thank
quickly
you.
add